Now, if we go ahead, I'm starting with the last table that we had it, and somehow we understand if you are trying to prepare good compost, a good compost definitely has some characteristics. It should be matched, or we should be very careful. Either it is related with the size of the particle, or maybe the pH. pH is very important because it decided the amount of the nutrients to be stable, remain stable or not. The degrading value is also depending on it, and at the same time, we should understand whether it will remain stable for a longer period or not. Means it decided the storage. At the same time, decomposition rate also discussed on the basis of how longer you can keep it for the uh, for the longer period of it. Okay, moisture content is very important. This is the moisture content. If I'll say that this is about the one which actually lets you know that the final composition that you have it. It is about that one, 35 to 55%. You should have this much when you test the moisture content. Once you get a final product as a compost. Okay, okay. Moving on. Now the next table that we had. This is about the green manures and green leaf manures. Now this one is very much important to understand because India having a large number of resources which contains or always popularized as a good source of nitrogen. Okay, just keep the records of the nitrogen here. Okay, whenever I'm discussing some biofertilizers here and the other organic fertilizers, just keep the record of nitrogen because that is a majorly concerned in the elements parts. So P and K, it's okay if you if you want to, but our discussion is totally focused on the N content. So let's take a look. Some of the major I already listed here, like green manure crops. We have three of them: Sunham, Dhecha, and Suspenia. Because there are two species of Suspenia, Aculata and Speciosa. So if you take a look, Dhecha has the higher nitrogen content, 3.5, as compared to the Speciosa. Now, the Sunham scientific name, the scientific name also given or some of it, so you can also write at the same time. So we have three good green manure crops. इसके अलावा भी बहुत सारे होते हैं लेकिन हम लोग सिर्फ इसी पे करेंगे. Like Sunham, Crotolaria gentiana, nitrogen is 2.3. This is all dry weight basis. Okay, these values are dry weight basis. Next is Dhecha, which is Sesbania aculeata, a very good species, having the good source of nitrogen around 3.5%. The next is another species of Sesbania, Speciosa, which carries a good source of amount of the nitrogen as 2.71. This is 2.71. Okay, the decimal is wrong. Now, coming to the another green leaf manures. Green leaf manures are usually some timber trees which have been kept around the surroundings, maybe the boundaries of the farms or maybe on the roadside areas. So these green leaf manures sometimes they have been work as a good source. Okay, and when it comes to the good source part of it, we always say that forest trees, if you have the nearby areas, they can serve you around 1.2% nitrogen. But if you have a pongamia around, pongamia हमारे आसपास भी बहुत है, तो pongamia leaves, which is known as pongamia glabra, the species, is very helpful. Sometimes we should have to be carry on with this variety of the species pongamia, which can give you around 3.31% of the nitrogen. 3.31%. Okay. P and K we will not discuss here, but if you want to, you just uh, you can continue with this part. Okay, moving on. Now, a part of this green manures and green manures, we also have oil cakes. Everybody knows that oil cakes are usually divided into two parts. One is edible, second is non-edible. Edible means these, after the extraction of the oil, can also be used as feed purpose to the animals, because they are a good source of different nutrients as well as micronutrients. So it remains edible. आपकी choice पे depend करता है. It totally depending on you. Either you are taking as a feedstock for the animals, or maybe you can use them to incorporate into the soil. These all cakes. So edibles and non-edibles. Okay, let's focus on the first non-edible one. Just specifically talking about the N content. Let's see the N content basis. पहले आप नाम लिख लीजिएगा. Write down the name of the non-edible cakes. First we have castor cake. Then we have cotton seed cake. Cotton seed cake, which is undecorticated. Undecorticated means just आपका होता है as it is. Then we have karanj. Then mahua, and the last is safflower. So on this table we have around 5 listed one: castor, cotton seed cake, undecorated, karanj cake, mahua cake, and safflower cake. Safflower cake is also given here as undecorticated. That's it. Means the natural form. Let's see how much the amount of N content has been found in percent in this non-edible. Castor cake around 4.3, cottonseed 3.9, orange 3.9, same. Mahua cake is a little lower as compared to the rest, 2.5, and safflower cake is also a very good source, around 4.9%. So if somebody will ask you, out of the non-edible cakes, which one having a higher N content, you without any doubts can say safflower cakes are much better, undecorticated, which gives you 4.9%. And after that, castor. If you take a look on this safflower and castor, both of the are the good plant species which are normally found under the southern part of India and the central part of India. इनका ज़्यादातर यूज़ वहाँ पर होता है. हमारे यहाँ करंज और महुआ इजीली मिल जाता है. In the North Indian cases, you can find करंज और महुआ. Now moving on, edible oil cakes. Edible oil cakes में बहुत लंबी list है. We have got it here like coconut cake. Then edible में cotton seed cake is also included. Once we remove the outer shell of cotton seed cake, it can be edible. Then groundnut cake, then linseed, then Niger, followed by rapeseed, then safflower and sesame at the last. So we have around 8 edible oil cake list. A variety of the sources are available throughout the India depending on the availability and the local society cultivation basis. You can choose any one of that. Let's take the amount of N content in each of them. Coconut cake usually have 3%. Cotton cake, if you decot it, removal of the shell, you will get around 6.4%. Look at the amount of cotton seed decorticated. The N content has been improved almost more than 1.8 times. करीबन 1.5 गुना से ज़्यादा हो गया है. Groundnut cake, you get 7.3. This is very good source, groundnut cake, because it is highly edible and having a good content of the nitrogen content. So usually the recommendation goes on the groundnut cake in throughout the India. Linseed 4.9 is a good source in the winter timing. Niger cake 4.7. Then again we have rapeseed cake 5.2%. Safflower is available in the southern part easily, 7.9, and sesame cake 6.2%. So the good sources that has come out in the North Indian cases, if you want to suggest someone, go for groundnut cake 7.3%. And out of the total edible cakes in the list, the highest end content has been found in safflower cake, which is decorticated. Okay, 7.9, the highest one.
Excuse me, sir.
हाँ जी बताइए.
The North India के लिए groundnut cake preferred है.
It availability, because on the availability and the what do you call it, convenience basis, I suggest this one.
Okay, sir.
जितना बड़ा मार्केट होता है, जितना कॉमन अवेलेबल होगा, आप उस चीज को सजेस्ट कर सकते हैं. इट डजंट मैटर वेदर इट इज कल्टिवेटेड और नॉट. इट्स ऑलवेज अबाउट द मार्केट. Okay, moving on. Now, some of the other animal-based meals are also available, which has been considered a very, very good source. So even after the slaughtering house, from the slaughtering houses, wherever the slaughterhouse has been there, they can provide you a raw material which can be used as a very good source of the NPK and others too. उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा मात्रा में कैल्शियम प्रोटीन ये भी मिल जाता है. So from the seafood market, from the slaughterhouses, there are some other ways to get these nutrients meal. Like some of them are listed here. You can just write down the name and the end content of them. Okay, let's see that. We have blood meal. Blood meal is nearly having very good source of 10 to 12%. और उसमें पी और के कंटेंट भी अच्छा होता है. ब्लड मील इज अ गुड सोर्स. देन द वेस्टेड मीट पार्ट, जो आपका बच जाता है, wheat meal meat meal sorry, can be used having a good source at 10.5% on an average. Then fish meal is a very good source of all kind of the oleic acid and other so many different, and it can provide you 4 to 10%. And even the phosphorus content is quite good in this one. Then moving on, there is always the dehorning process in some of the livestock and the dairy side areas. So dehorning, once you get a horn and a hoof meal, it can gives you a very good source of the nitrogen at the same time. 13%. It's very high. Now moving on, if you have a direct availability of the bones, it can give you around 3 to 4% of the nitrogen, raw bones. But if you steam them, steaming is the process which actually improves the concentration amounts, especially the phosphorus. So if you have a steamed bone meal, the nitrogen may be a little lesser because of the volatilization losses, 1 to 2%. But P2O5 content is a greater amount, 25 to 30%. 25 to 30% phosphorus is a very amazing one. So we have got the sources of the animal based too: blood meal, meat meal, fish meal, horn and hooves, raw bones, and steamed bone. Anybody knows how does the blood meal has been made? Anyone? Aishi?
Blood को सुखा के फिर
हाँ, blood को
बनाते
सुखा
हैं.
के. Yes, there is a process where the always excess removal of the first the water moisture content from it, उसको remove करा हुआ है. Then the blood has been remained as a flakes, and that flakes, if you can pass them through the other process, sometimes it's a dry hot winds, or sometimes it's a steamed hot winds. So in both of them, the concentration has been improved. So the blood meal has been prepared in that manner. Moving on, तनुजा अपना वीडियो बंद करो. Now some of the good names have been come out. Obviously we have a lot of factories, industrials around it. which can also be served as a good source of the organic meals available. So let's see what are the biggest industries and what kind of the sources of the waste we can have it. So just list it down all of them. Let's start with the sugar mill. Now from sugar mill you can have around three types of the waste material: bagasse, molasses, and press mud. These are the three different ways that you can get it. Okay, and bagasse can be used in the both manner. It can be converted into the briquettes. एक ईट की shape दी जाती है, and which actually helps to work as a burning fuel. Or it can be used as a manure too, the bagasse. Or bagasse as it is as a fiber, it can be used as a formation of the papers or maybe the pulps. But for the organic manure purpose, if you want so, just focus on the waste product that you're getting it. Sugar मिल से तीन waste मिलते हैं: bagasse, molasses, press nuts. तो आप इनको यूज कर सकते हैं. ओके, वो तो रेस्ट वाली चीजें आ गई हैं. दैट इज हाउ अदर वे ऑफ यूजिंग इट, वो हम लोग इतना फोकस नहीं करते हैं. मूविंग ऑन, राइस मिल प्रोडक्ट्स. राइस मिल प्रोडक्ट्स की अगर बात कर ली जाए तो हमारे पास राइस हस्क होता है और राइस ब्रान होता है. ठीक है, rice husk is a very good source. It can provide you, look at the list of the sodium silicate, okay, cement, ceramics, silica salt, ash. Ash is a good source of phosphorus, calcium, and others micronutrient content, especially. So it can be used. The rice bran सभी को पता है. The rice bran can be a good source to provide you oil, the rice bran oil, जो बहुत अच्छा है. This is good for the heart at the same time. But not only that one, it can be used as a feed purpose for the for the animals. And this rice bran, if you can decompose or you can come with some processing way, it can also help you to provide other NPK content as an organic manure. तो वहाँ पर राइस मिल से आपको राइस हस्क मिलता है, राइस ब्रान मिलता है. शुगर मिल से हमें बैगेस मिलता है, मोलासेस मिलता है, रेस्ट मिलता. ओके, मूविंग ऑन. Now, coming to the last part of the organic manures, we have a huge list of the biofertilizers. These are the living organisms, okay, and some of the living organisms are helpful directly to the plants by fixing the nitrogen. So they are known as nitrogen fixing microorganisms. जो आपके लेफ्ट साइड में लिखा है, okay, the left side, nitrogen fixing microorganisms. There are some other kind of biofertilizers. Although they are not helping you directly to provide nitrogen and other ways, but it can be categorized not related with the other nutrients, but they can help you to the development of the or degradation or decompositions of the any waste as a compost. So they are compost making microorganisms like cellulosic and a lignolite. But our main focus will be only in this nitrogen fixing as well as phosphate solubilizers, क्योंकि हमें इनकी ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है. Now the list has been given. You can just keep writing. Nitrogen fixing could be two types of it. One is symbiotic. They always have a positive correlation with the host. Host means the plants from where they are having a survival. And it could be a free living. And these free livings, they have a very good examples like Azotobacter azospirillum. ये ज़्यादातर आपके सीरियल स्पीशीज से कनेक्टेड होते हैं, and blue green algae. So these three are the free living or maybe non-symbiotic, you can say that. Now out of the nitrogen fixing, the last drop down, if you take a look, phosphate solubilizers also there. Phosphate solubilizers, because they helps to improve the ionic phosphorus in the soil pool. ये हेल्प करते हैं कि उसको ज़्यादा आयनिक फॉर्म में करें, क्योंकि मोस्ट ऑफ द phosphorus has been remain unavailable because it remains called stable, or it has been locked down. So if you can use some of the microbes which has this ability to dissolve this phosphorus into an ionic form, it really helps you. Like one is symbiotic way. Very good example is there mycorrhizae. बहुत सारे माइक्रोजे आपके माइक्रोबियल कंसोर्टिया होते हैं, उसको यूज कर सकते हैं. And another is free living basis. Some of the fungi, bacteria and actinomycetes are there. वो हम आपको लिस्ट बताएंगे अभी आगे. ओके, मूविंग ऑन, आगे बढ़ते हैं. नाउ कमिंग टू थीम वाइज, हम सबसे पहले सिम्बायोटिक की बात कर लेते हैं. नाउ दिस सिम्बायोटिक बैक्टीरिया, let me let you understand about this one. These are the certain bacteria. Okay, so they have positive correlations mutual. So what they are getting it, they get the carbohydrates as well as water from the host, means plant, and in the respect, in the conversion form, they provide the nitrogen to the plants. So most common example of symbiotic bacteria is rhizobium species. Now, how to use them? These rhizobium, one of the best method or सबसे simplest method. This is the seed treatment method. And in the seed treatment method, usually we say that 200 gram is applicable per kg of the seed. But if you want to go with the soil application is another way. Okay, there are two ways of soil application. One is soil application. Soil application means आपने कोई नया field है, you never used any legumes there, and if you want to cultivate it, so what you can do, use any legume cultivated field, वहां से करीबन 200 किलो मिट्टी उठाइए, and you can use them into a new field. ओके, दैट्स अ सिंपल वे. आपकी बिल्कुल नई फील्ड है जहां पर कल्टीवेशन कभी नहीं लिया गया है, तो आप एक काम करिए, कोई भी लेग्यूम वाली फील्ड लीजिए, वहां से 200 केजी सॉइल ले लीजिए एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड और मे बी ब्रॉडकास्ट देम टू द न्यू फील्ड. ये हो गया सॉइल एप्लीकेशन. अनदर इज नोन एज सॉइल ट्रीटमेंट. सॉइल ट्रीटमेंट में एक्चुअली क्या होता है, आप उसमें जो भी आपका बायो फर्टिलाइजर है, इट हैज बीन डायरेक्टली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट और ब्रॉडकास्टेड इनटू द फील्ड इटसेल्फ. कुछ लोग सीड ट्रीटमेंट नहीं करते, सॉइल ट्रीटमेंट करते हैं. मूविंग ऑन. नाउ these are the names which I am sharing it here. Some rhizobium species are there. आपको काफी लोगों को पता भी होगा. You have heard about it. You have maybe mentioned earlier. It has been there. So rhizobium species are there. Rhizobium legumineum. First, you just write down the names of the rhizobium species. Okay. We have only 10 minutes left. We have rhizobium trifoli. ये ट्राइपोली नहीं है, ट्राइफोली है. TRIFOLI. Then rhizobium fascioli. Then rhizobium lupine. 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 Then rhizobium japonicum. Then meliloti. These are the major one. So what crops that it can be suitable for? हमेशा याद रखिएगा, you just have to use the suitable one, the most suitable one according to the crops. So leguminous can be used for the peas, lettuce, lentil. Trifoli is the best suitable for the Barsim crop. Fascioli for the mostly the fasciolus group जितने आपके हैं सब में आता है. Fascioli में किडनी बीन आपका जो है, फ्रेंच बीन, राजमा, उसमें यूज कर सकते हैं. हॉर्स बीन में भी यूज करते हैं, but kidney bean is most common. Lupine has been used in the lupinus or nithopus. Japonicum is strictly used for the soybean purpose. एंड जो मेलिलोचाई है वो लूसर्न में या फिर फेनोग्रीक, इन दोनों में इससे ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल होता है. lucerne and fenugreek. Now moving on. Coming to the free living bacteria, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया था, they are symbiotic and non-symbiotic. So non-symbiotic also known as free living. So most common examples are blue-green algae, Azolla is there, Azotobacter and Rhizospira. Now out of these all four major categories, जो आपका बीजी होता है, blue-green algae होता है, and Azolla, they have the capacity or the ability only to survive in the lowland areas, in the lowland conditions. तो lowland condition में इनको बोला जाता है, we can use them. Moving on. Now let's talk about the blue-green algae first. Blue-green algae, the most common species that we have are Anabena and Nostoc. सबसे common blue-green algae which has been utilized and applicable in the Indian condition is Anabena and Nostoc. इनकी nitrogen fixation capacity is around 15 to 45 kg per hectare. And these inoculums of Anabena or Nostoc, it is usually have been used after the transplantation of rice crop. जब आपकी ट्रांसप्लांटेशन हो जाती है उसके बाद इनोकुलम का यूज किया जाता है इन द मेन फील्ड. हाउ मच इज अमाउंट, कितना चाहिए होता है? द इनोकुलम रिक्वायरमेंट इज यूजली 10 केजी पर हेक्टेयर. तो उसमें नर्सरी की जगह हम लोग मेन फील्ड में लगाया जाता है. मूविंग ऑन. अजोला, एज वी ऑलरेडी नो दैट दिस इज एक्चुअली अ फर्न. ये कोई एल्गी नहीं होता है. अजोला इज एक्चुअली अ फर्न, वाटर फर्न. और सबसे कॉमन जो हमारे इस्तेमाल में होता है एजोला पिनेटा. एजोला पिनेटा इज द मोस्ट कॉमन वन इन इंडिया. They are actually helping to fix the nitrogen because of the one of the species of blue green algae, Anabena. तो एजोला का एनाबेना के साथ सिम्बायोटिक रिलेशन चलता है, एक तरह से हेल्पफुल है, दोनों एक साथ काम करते हैं. सो दैट्स हाउ द नाइट्रोजन हैज बीन फिक्स्ड बाय द एजोला. तो अगर आप एजोला यूज कर रहे हैं फॉर द मैन्योर पर्पस, यू मस्ट गो विद द स्पीशीज ऑफ एनाबेना इन द यूटिलाइजेशन. मूविंग ऑन. Like I have said it, Azotobacter and Azospirillum, if you take a look, they are basically utilized, commercially utilized in the most of the cereals, millets, and others crops, means non-legume crop. So for Azotobacter crocum, the this species, it has the ability to fix nitrogen around 20 to 30 kg per hectare. और जो एजोटोबैक्टर क्रोकम की स्पीशीज है, इट इज वाइडली एक्सेप्टेड एंड कल्टीवेटेड इन द यूज फॉर द राइस, कॉटन एंड शुगर केन. इन तीन में सबसे ज्यादा होता है. और एजोस्पाइरलम की बात करी जाए, एजोस्पाइरलम हैज बीन वाइडली एक्सेप्टेड इन द रेनफेड एरियाज जहां पर सोरगम लगा जाती है. मूविंग ऑन. नाउ I said is that for the phosphorus solubilization purpose, mycorrhiza is the best example. So mycorrhiza can be utilized, and the results have been shown that mycorrhiza is always helpful in the pod production of groundnut. And some of the most common solubilizing phosphates are available. ये आपके नाम दे रखे हैं: Pseudomonas straight, Aspergillus avenori, AWANEORII, and Bacillus polymyxa. इनका यूटिलाइजेशन आपका फॉस्फो माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म के तौर पे यूज किया जाता है, विच आर वेरी हेल्पफुल इन फिक्सिंग द not fixing mix, I mean, to helpful in the solubilization of phosphorus. Moving on, Pseudomonas traits, Aspergillus avigneri and Bacillus polymyxa. And last one, like I said it, compost preparation purpose के लिए there are certain examples of the species you can use like Aspergillus, Penicillium and Trichoderma. Trichoderma का तो बहुत ज़्यादा यूज होता है अपने प्रोग्राम में. Which are the cellulosic fungi. So they are directly helping you to improve the decomposition rate of any waste material. तो compost जल्दी बनता है. Okay. By this, I'm stopping my lecture of today's one, which has been about the organic